Hey guys, it's me. I just wanted to let you guys know before you watch this episode that all of these episodes have been pre-recorded. We did about 5 before I left LA. And while they've been coming out, a lot of social issues have been coming to light. And I just want to let you know that us at Back to Space are not deaf to that. We're going to be coming out with some episodes that are very topical to what's going on, as well as in relation to the space industry. So I just want you guys to know that. And we're keeping everyone in our thoughts and prayers. And I'll see you guys soon.
Hello everybody! How are you doing? How are you faring in these very odd times? Quarantine has got us all feeling some type of way. I know for me, I was locked up with my roommates for now about 2.5 months. And when I had COVID, I was in isolation in my room / the hospital. I needed to go outside. Then I was like, dang, I wonder what it's like to be in space with no option to go outside. What are the psychological aspects to that? So let's get into it. So here's the deal. We're going to Mars. Robotic spacecrafts have already gone to Mars, but humans with feelings are gonna go to Mars too, probably in the 1920s, the 2030s, and as early as 2024 for a return mission. These missions are going to last 2 to 3 years and may involve a crew of 4 to 7 people. And then there are also the no return trip plans, which phew, thinking about that has got me all sorts of ways. Obviously, there are going to have to be physical issues with this, but this episode we are just focusing on the psychological. Before we jump into the future, let's focus on what has happened to date. A number of psychiatric problems have been reported during on-orbit space missions. Most common are adjustment reactions to the idea of really grasping you're in space. This adjustment period has shown symptoms of anxiety, oh, you think, and depression. But keep in mind, these astronauts go through rigorous screenings for psychiatric conditions before they fly. So a lot of the people who have manic depression or schizophrenia or those types of mental illnesses are not approved for astronaut training. But all in all, there have been no behavioral emergencies for a US spaceflight. What is also interesting is the post-mission personality changes and emotional problems that have occurred with a couple of these astronauts. These are anxiety, depression, alcohol abuse, marital readjustments, and in some cases, few but some, have required psychotherapy and medication. But also remember, when you come back to Earth out from being up there in space, you're kind of like the coolest person ever. So a lot of these scientists or pilots do their job and they come back celebrities. It is often hard for some of them to navigate being famous. Okay, so that's now, but what about the future? With these Mars programs, well, doing research for this video, I learned about this Mars 500 program. From June 2010 to November 2011, a ground-based space analogy study took place. The Mars 500 was designated to simulate a 520-day round-trip mission to Mars, including periods of time where the crew functioned under high autonomy conditions, because from the surface of Mars, there will be significant communication delays. So this is how they did it. 6 men were confined in a simulator that was located in the Institute for Biomedical Problems. What a name. Of course, it's in Moscow. The lower level consisted of a living and laboratory module for the international crew, and the upper floor contained a mock-up of the Mars surface on which the crew conducted simulated geological and other planetary activities. So, during this test, they did several psychosocial studies, and they found changes in the crew members' time perception, evidence for the displacement of crew tension to mission control, and decreased crew members' needs to request during high autonomy, which suggested that they had actually adapted to this condition. That's pretty encouraging. The crew also showed increase in homogeneity, values, and more reluctance to express negative interpersonal feelings over time. No one's talking smack, which suggested a tendency towards groupthink. But as for the bad, the crew members experienced increased feelings of loneliness and perceived lower support from colleagues over time, which did have a negative effect on cognitive adaptation. Some astronauts had differences in sleep patterns, mood, and conflicts with mission control were found and reported using, get this guys, techniques such as a right actigraph, which is basically a watch that monitors motor activity, the psychomotor vigilance task, which is when a subject presses a button as soon as they see a light and it appears, and it measures reaction time, and other tests. Then they took recordings of the crew's behavior during breakfast and through various in-person activities, and they found that there was a decrease in the group collective time from the outbound phase to the return phase of the simulated flight to Mars. That's interesting, but that was just the test on Earth. So if you think about it, the astronauts signing up for a mission to Mars have to be okay with being away from their friends and their families and their dogs for 2 to 3 years. So that's gonna make the pool of people applying a little bit smaller. And they're also going to be a lot more strict about who they will select, because honestly, they don't know what the effects of being in space for that long will do to a person. And no one has a time for a mental breakdown in space. I don't care what Sandra Bullock did in Gravity, it ain't happening. Given the long distances involved, the crew must function autonomously and develop their own work schedules, solve operational emergencies themselves, and in addition, they also have to deal with medical and psychiatric emergencies such as physical trauma due to an accident or suicidal/psychotic thinking. Because these trips are so long, there will be a lot of leisure time. It means you got a lot of time to think. So I feel like personally, quarantine has prepped a lot of us for that, so maybe it won't be much of an issue. So what do you guys think? Would you leave your family and friends and go to Mars? Would you freak out about having all the food and water on the ship itself and there's nothing else coming? That would honestly be the hardest part for me. Also, can a dog come with? I feel like that would help. And if I were going, Maya would come with me. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, and that's it for this week's episode of Back to Space. See you guys next week. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, show this to your friend, show this to your boyfriend. Say, hey, do you love me? You wanna go to Mars together? That always works. All right, guys, see you next week. Bye.